Little kitty cat. All right. Salute, folks. It's your boy, the insurance junkie, your fiduciary fella, the all-star advisor, Alonzo Hall. Here today to web tap on your head with the ADH Wealth Solution. I'm sitting here in my bedroom, chilling out, doing some continuing education, so I figure I'd take y'all live with me. Let me see if I can turn on this camera. Okay, this camera is backwards. How do I edit that? Hold on, give me 1 second. Settings, camera. I want the back-facing camera. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here like this. I'm laying in my bed. Let's see if I can turn this sideways. And that ain't gonna show up like that, huh? So I'm laying in my bed doing some continuing education. Yeah, well, y'all just gonna have to not see it all the way, but there we go. So y'all can watch along as I do my studies. This is the thing. What happens is, and this frustrates me because a lot of agents be like, I was just online with this agent who's like, I've been in the business 4 years and got 100 agents under me. You don't know shit, my nigga. You ain't been in this business long enough to go through enough continuing education to even learn about half of this shit. This is the problem, right? Because you got people who haven't even been through. What happens is continuing education, the longer you're in this business, the more you learn about this shit. So now, like continuing education, they're sitting here, I'm talking about estate planning. So let's look here. The definition of estate planning, right? So it says, estate planning has many meanings among financial planners. However, we need to decide on a basic definition that is acceptable and usable to us as well as other practitioners. Estate planning, simply put, is the process of wealth accumulation, conservation, management, and transfer, considering legal constraints, personal objectives, and tax planning. In planning to dispose of one's assets, many considerations are relevant. Among them are the following: providing for heirs in a way that meets the estate owner's personal objectives, limiting liabilities, facilitating timely payment of estate obligations such as taxes, and limiting administration costs. While many estate plans may initially be prompted by tax consideration, the estate owner's primary objective is to preserve the assets for the benefit of their heirs. Right? Like I said, Joe, I'm sitting here, but you know what? Let me get a box of these shells. See if I could like this it up on these here shells. Hold on. Can I put it in here like this? Now that puts it down there. Let's see if I can put it like this. That stands it up a little bit. Let me see. Boom, there we go. All right, so let's continue. Who needs estate planning? So to show you here, estate planning is a process applicable to anyone owning property or having income. Death will bring about a distribution to heirs of the remaining assets. If the estate owner fails to specify how the distribution is to be made, state and testacy law will dictate the distribution of the assets. Establishing an estate plan can give the estate owner more certainty of the resulting distribution. Smaller estates may require more urgent attention because each individual asset and its ultimate disposition has greater overall impact. The waste of any single asset could cause far greater suffering for the heirs of a small estate than the same occurrence in a large estate. It would be a mistake for a financial planner to assume estate planning is only important for extremely wealthy clients. Right? Because if you ain't got shit, then getting some shit. Hold on. Why is this? What's going on with this? I don't want to leave that. There we go. There we go. I was wondering what's going on. All right, cool. So let me share this out with a couple folks. Yeah, while I'm at it. Let me see what it's looking like on YouTube. Okay, what's up? Miss Queen, what's up? Miss T, what's up? So yeah, y'all are seeing me here. I'm studying, well not studying. So as an insurance broker or a financial planner, advisor, you have to do this thing called continuing education every 2 years. So what happens is you get a lot of agents who get clout because they know how to go online and you know get a bunch of people to watch their shit, but they don't know shit because they haven't been in the business long enough. Prime example, I'll go back to the beginning. Total Access Life and Health CE, right? So, like for example, Kay, your brother works in uh, financial services, right? So he would know things like the KYC rule, right, which is know your customer rule for variable annuities, FINRA, right? Like I'm gonna take that portion, right? Anti-money laundering. These are all the courses I have to take. And as you can see, what this is like this course is 14 hours long. So the problem is that you get people who are like, I've been like I was just arguing with this cool kid, but he don't know shit. He's been in the business 4 years. And again, like you got all this Primerica, World Financial Group, and all this other nonsense. And they recruit but they don't know shit because you can't get access to like I've been in the business for over 15 years. That's why I have the 13th edition of estate planning concepts. Well, if you've been in the business for 4 years, guess what? You don't get to the 13th edition. You get to the fourth edition of estate planning concepts, right? And you'll see these are the types of licenses that it has credit for. So it's advanced markets, right? And it's for life and health insurance agents, IWI, which is I'm not sure what that is, but it's also for CFP. So that's the certified financial planners. So I know the exact same shit as a certified financial planner. Why? Because I've been in this business long enough, and that's what ends up happening. Annuities, know your customer. Let's see, view more. Skill level intermediate. This course discusses the key aspects of the FINRA Know Your Customer rule, right? But you'll also hear all these dumb fucks online not knowing their customer. And they'll tell you, invest in this, invest. You can't invest in shit. You can't make an investment recommendation without knowing your customer. So people like Wall Street Trapper who are telling you spend $3.99. Oh, and by the way, guys, this is Kaplan Financial Education. Kaplan, right? If I go to my learning here, activities, my current active courses, expired courses. Let's see what I've got here. Life and Health, Series 65, SIE, Series 6, right? So it's not like I ain't got these licenses, y'all. But again, a lot of this shit, just like Kay said, his brother told you, I can't talk about a lot of this shit. So if people are talking about investments, trade options, trade stock, they don't have the licenses. The problem with them not having the licenses or not being certified is that when you lose all your money, there's not shit that you can do to them or about it. Completions and certificates. Let's see what I got here. Um, this goes back years since I got my license. Anyway, so this is a 14-hour course right here for me, right? Or it's 14 hours of credit, right? I'm going to take the KYC course because I like KYC. This is for annuity sales, right? That's a 3-hour course. Anti-money laundering, I can't take this anymore because I already took it. Anti-money laundering for insurance agents. Can't take this anymore. I already took it. When you're doing continuing education, you actually have to know what courses you took because you can't take it over again or you don't get credit for it. More anti-money laundering, more anti-money laundering, more anti-money laundering, more. Oh, remember I told you all about SAR, suspicious activity reports, best interest annuities, client service, effective business writing for insurance people, estate planning, understanding wills and and intestacy, introduction to trusts, eyelets. I spoke about eyelets. I did a training on eyelets the other day. I went live about it. Problematic beneficiary designations because people do shit like, I'm going to leave my kids as my beneficiary. If your kid is not 18 or age of majority, please do not leave them as the beneficiary unless you have a will and a final testament and a trust, because there's certain things that they won't get. They don't get access to the money while they're a kid, basically, is what happens. Ethics. The ethical insurance producer. A lot of these folks running around recruit, like the guy that owes you money, K, for the Chinese food in the parking. Not ethical. Insurance ethics and consumer protection. Ethics at work. Wow, these are a lot of courses. Ethics 4th edition. Ethics for the insurance professional 5th edition. Ethical practices 3rd edition. Financial exploitations of seniors. Why insurance agents should care 2nd edition. Ethics approved for insurance ethics only. Annuities for today's investor. Annuity concepts. Let's see what else we got here. Variable contracts. Variable contracts case studies. Financial planning. Annuities for today's investor. I already read that one, huh? Annuity concept. Well, that's for financial planning, but annuity training course for NAIC FINRA rules and regulations. So NAIC is the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. So anybody who does insurance, who you want to get in trouble, you go to the NAIC. Or if they're an investment advisor, you go to FINRA. Asset allocation, right? This is stuff, equity indexed annuities, taxation of life insurance and annuities, variable contracts case studies, asset allocation for variable annuities, business continuation training, Section 529 plans, financial planning process, indexed products, business. And again, you'll only get to certain editions once you complete certain editions. So like I'm on a 2nd edition here, meaning I didn't complete this course, so they're not giving me the 3rd edition. But you see here, business insurance concepts, 11th edition. Financial products training course, 8th edition. Again, a lot of this stuff I don't have to take. You only need like 30 hours of training every 2 years, right? So you end up not taking all of it. Health insurance. I've done none of health insurance. I don't even gonna lie to you. I don't even bother with health insurance. Group insurance is a little bit different because it covers health insurance as well. Health insurance fundamentals. Yeah, as you can see, I ain't done nothing with health insurance. Long-term care insurance. Medicare supplements. Again, I ain't done nothing with the health insurance. Medicare 3rd edition. Disability income insurance, or what I call paycheck insurance. Long-term care concepts. Financial exploitation of its seniors, long-term care coverage combined with annuities and life insurance, Medicare and Medigap, HSAs, long-term care suitability, employee group benefits, health concepts, investments and financial planning. So annuity fundamentals, applying FINRA Rule 2330. Annuity essentials in FINRA Rule 2330. Health, life insurance, needs analysis, 5th edition. Life concepts, 19th edition. Suitability for traditional life and IUL insurance, 2nd edition. I don't really worry about that because I have my license in New York, so it's kind of difficult to. He asked me out to lunch, come for an hour date, then he had no money to pay for his food. Exactly. Life insurance policy comparison and underwriting. Introduction to advanced markets. What else do we have here? Geez. Understanding the 1035, retirement planning, financial challenges facing retirees, qualified and non-qualified plans. So that's like a 401k or IRAs, Social Security and Medicare, retirement income strategies, principles of retirement planning, investing retirement assets, senior needs planning, advanced planning for senior needs, distribution planning. Anyway, those are some of the courses that are available to me. So let's go back to the course that I'm actually on. Oh shit. Let me go. All right. Continue. All right. So this one is about, like I said, it's for resume course. So who needs estate planning? So estate planning is a process applicable. Black Brain Trust is live. Estate planning is a process applicable to anyone owning property or having income. Death will bring about a distribution to heirs of the remaining assets. If the estate owner fails to specify how this distribution is to be made, state intestacy laws will dictate the distribution of the assets. Establishing an estate plan can give the estate owner more certainty of the resulting distribution. Right? So again, and I want to Google this really quick because I know folks always talk about dividends, right? And everybody's like, well, what pays the highest dividend? You don't really want to worry about what pays the highest dividend. What pays the longest dividend, right? So how long? I'm trying to type and do this at the same time. How long have I haven't used this laptop in a while? Insurance companies paid dividend. All right. And then I'll get back to the training. But it says here, because a lot of people, even investment licensed people, will say, oh, no, don't get life insurance. Why? Because they don't have their insurance license. And believe it or not, insurance is more difficult to understand than securities. Because securities, all you got to do is sell it, and the person has to have the money. Insurance, you have to sell it, the person has to have the money, and they have to qualify. For example, I have a client. Let me see if I could check my email. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. I have a client who applied for life insurance with me. Initially, she was going to pay $250 a month. That's what she was comfortable with. But after she applied and they took the health exam, they said, oh, no, for the same amount of insurance that she wants because of her health, $500 a month. She was like, I can't afford that. Well, we can drop the price down. But if we drop the price down, it's going to substantially affect two things. One, it substantially affects my check. That's why investment advisors don't like that stuff, because your check is never affected because most people have the money. Whole life dividends are not guaranteed to be paid, but no company's dividends are guaranteed to be paid. But every mutual company still in existence has a massive surplus and has found a way to pay dividends every year for the last 150 plus years. Ask your stockbroker how many years QQQ has been paying dividends, or your best friend who keeps asking that. How long has anything that somebody has been telling you to invest in been profitable? Life insurance as a whole has been profitable every year for 150 plus years. The only other companies like that, there's a company Black & Decker and Coca-Cola. So if you want to invest in Black & Decker or Coca-Cola, cool. But there's two ticker symbols. What? Because there's Coke Bottling Company are the ticker symbols for Coca-Cola. And then the Coke, so that's KO. but there's also Coca-Cola bottling, right? And this is where people don't understand about investing. So you see, Coca-Cola bottling is KO, but most people think they're investing in Coca-Cola when you invest in Coke, COKE. If you invest in Coke, COKE, you're investing in Coca-Cola bottling. But if you invest in Coca-Cola, the real stock, the soda, you'll see here, the ticker symbol is KO. You see that? The ticker symbol is KO. Let me get closer here. And there's a different price, right? KO for Coca-Cola, right? And then bottling company, right? Bottling company, same NASDAQ, Coke, right? Huge difference in price. $858 for a share of Coke. Bottling company, which is where they make a shit ton of their money. The soda doesn't make a bunch of money, apparently. It's the bottling company that makes the money. See, KO for Coke, Coca-Cola, $59.83, right? Now you see here, I'm not even gonna, this is a 1-day moving trend, right? But generally you're gonna look at the 52-week moving average, right? See, I'm talking shit. None of those investment people who are online, who don't have the credentials, because, people are like, oh, you can't credential your way in. No, you can't credential your way in. But the credentials generally means that you have the time in and you've practiced. So you kind of know a little bit about what the fuck you're talking about. But I digress. I got to get back to studying. So, who needs estate planning? So smaller estates may require more urgent attention because each individual asset and its ultimate disposition has a greater overall impact. The waste of any single asset could, yeah, I read this already. Oh, they're going to test me already. Damn. Yeah, they test you along the way. So select the statement about estate planning that is true. So, what do you guys think? I want to see what you I want to see what you guys think in here. Here we go. Oh no, that ain't gonna work neither. All right. So I want to see what you guys think, right? It says select the statement about estate planning that is true. Estate planning creates more uncertainty for the estate planner. Estate planning is applicable to anyone owning property or having income. Smaller estates do not need to worry about estate planning, or estate planning is important only for the extremely wealthy clients. So we all know the answer here is B. Estate planning is applicable to anyone owning property or having income, right? Hey, David, what's going on? David, I know you know the answer. That's unfair. Everybody, make sure that you go follow this gentleman right here, David Kinder. He is a wealth of knowledge. You guys think I've got some knowledge? Boy, oh boy. My buddy David Kinder, as you can see, he's got credentials by his name, right? RFC, Registered Financial Consultant, CHFC, Chartered Financial Consultant, right? CLU, sir, what is that? Chartered Life Underwriter. Everyone has an estate plan. Either you create your own plan or you default to the state's estate plan for you, which is intestacy, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you look out for my man David Kinder. Again, this guy is part of the reason that I'm where I'm at. He is an elite financial professional, as you can see by all the letters behind his name. Soon, some of which I intend on going to get. I'm actually, David, probably going for the WMCP just to have. Well, I want to put. So I don't know if you know, I'm a managing associate at my firm now. I have 8 current agents, and I've got 5 new onboarders. One I'm onboarding Monday. And so all of my new agents, I'm going to have them go get designations. So we don't have a lot of the nonsense that we see, for example, in some of our groups, right? So incapacity planning, one of two. So estate planning is also essential for everyone because there is a good chance that all of us will need help handling our financial and medical affairs while still living. This is formally known as incapacity planning, which is a crucial part of estate planning. The entire estate plan may be considered invalid if it can be proven that the client did not have legal capacity while signing the estate planning documents. The American College asked for feedback about 10 years ago, and I asked them to create an investment license that would compete with SEMA. Is that where they created WMCP? And let me show you guys what we're talking about here, because right now I'm nerding out, right? So American uh, College of Finance. I'm sorry, yes, designation, not license. So here we go, homepage. So here's where you can learn about allow all. Wow, that's awesome. So let's scroll down here and you see you can enroll in a course. Let's enroll in a course or program. Oh, well. So let's see. As you see here, CFP, which we know our boy JT the Pocket Watcher is. However, this CLU Chartered Life Underwriter, it takes 3 more courses to get this than it does to get this. Now, most people are familiar with this as opposed to this. So the public is very sensitive to this, the CFP, right? But that's just like an EA and a CPA. An EA is an enrolled agent. And if your issue is taxes, you're more likely to get a benefit out of an enrolled agent than you are a certified public accountant. Why? Because a certified public accountant specializes in accounting. An enrolled agent specializes in taxation. So then here you have another designation, which is WMCP, Wealth Management Certified Professional. Hey, David, what do you think about what is it? The IARFC? Let me see if I can pull it up because I get emails from them all the time. Let's see. Yes, sir. Let me see if I can show you the IARFC. No, that's in my other email, isn't it? IARFC. IARFC. Sandy. Oh, I still get emails from Sandy too. Sandy Shussle. I think actually, David, I've taken some of his coursework. I love the IRFC as a designation. Had it set you apart for the ethical conduct and experience. Okay. Because I was considering um let me see, I forgot what do they call it? Master RICP. I can't even remember all the designations. But I'm considering getting all of my reps to start with their WMCP. Um And then as you see here, again, David has the CHFC, right? I was also looking at getting the RICP, but I did let me actually show you guys this. infre.org. And this is another designation that I'm going for. I have to yeah, the MRFC. I was thinking of taking the RFC, but I do want the MRFC. So this is a pretty rough exam. The exam itself was 4 hours. It's just like a securities exam. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you're enjoying the content, Make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. So again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not really going too much into the study of this because technically it's really not supposed to be shown with the general public. But I don't mind. It's concepts that. Uh, so this is why I have partially a love-hate relationship with Primerica, because Primerica wants to bring Wall Street to Main Street. That's their big thing. And this is part of bringing Wall Street to Main Street. There are so many people who have their licenses who don't understand that a lot of this stuff, just for the sheer fact they haven't been in the business long enough to encounter it. Anyway, let's continue rating. So, incapacity is a term often used in a legal context, e.g., being a minor, whereas disability is a term often used in a contractual context. An individual is also often determined to be disabled as defined under the terms of a contract, such as a disability income insurance policy. This is not the case with incapacity. It is defined by state or federal law. Nevertheless, the estate planning for incapacity and disability, along with terminal illness, is often very similar. There are two primary documents used to plan for the eventuality of having to care for a legally incapacitated or disabled person. One is a living will. Yeah, I'm actually thinking of taking the MRFC too, David. I think that would be an awesome thing. But living will, also known as an advanced healthcare directive, this document is drafted by individuals when in full capacity, giving personal directions to a physician regarding healthcare, e.g., life support, in the event of being severely disabled or suffering from a terminal illness. Pause, ladies and gentlemen. I want to tell you guys something about the way my year has started this year. So this year, so far, I've had a lot of stressful things happen. And this is why things like life insurance are so important. So at the beginning of the year, I had two uncles who had strokes, different strokes for different folks. I had my mother-in-law, she's still currently in the hospital. She had to have knee surgery. And then 2 days ago, my wife's aunt died and my best friend's grandmother died. So I've been going through a lot of stress. But guess what? Life keeps going on, whether you're here or not. But the difficulty is, for example, with my wife's aunt, she didn't have a will. She didn't have life insurance. She had $1,200 in her bank account when she died. She didn't make an advance directive, so my brother-in-law, who was taking care of her until her dying day, is locked out of her bank account. Her daughter, who wasn't around and didn't even know she was in the hospital, was listed as her healthcare proxy. So her daughter gets to make all the decisions right now about her money. So while my brother-in-law was in the process of grieving and trying to pay for her cremation because that's what she said she wanted, her daughter was like, yeah, no, I'm going to block this debit card so now he can't access the money. And I found a place that will do it for $5,200. You guys got to come give me the money. Well, that's going to start a big old fight amongst the family. So that's the importance of incapacity planning, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a written document executed by one person known as durable power of attorney for healthcare, also known as healthcare proxy. This is a written document executed by one person known as the principal, authorizing someone else known as the agent or attorney in fact to make medical decisions on the principal's behalf. The power takes effect whenever the principal cannot give informed consent to a medical decision, and not just in the event that the principal has a terminal illness. Powers of attorney may be either durable or non-durable. A durable power of attorney survives the principal's incapacity. A non-durable power of attorney ceases when the principal's incapacity begins. So, prime example, like I said, with my aunt or my wife's aunt, which is my aunt, she, oh, you have the study guide? I got to go buy the study guide. The study guide is what? It's like $50. It's not that expensive. But my aunt, like I said, my brother-in-law was the one taking care of her. But because he wasn't her durable power of attorney or her healthcare proxy, her daughter was her healthcare proxy. She was at the point where they needed to resuscitate her. Well, they were calling and calling and calling, and guess who they couldn't get in touch with? Her daughter. When they finally got in touch with her, hey, we need to resuscitate. Do you give us the okay? Yeah, I'm on my way. And when she got halfway there, they called her back and told us that she passed. Right? This is no joke. I'm going to show you the text message. Right? Let me see. Right here. Boom. See, we were sharing, we were looking at BMWs, me and my brother, because well, I like Benzes. So he showed me this '06 CLS because I like the CLS class. Even though I drive a 16E class, I'm gonna get either a '06 or a '09 CLS. Those were the best years. Then he was looking at BMWs, right? Right? And then boom, Aunt B passed away. Right? Wednesday at 11:20 in the morning. This is probably why I didn't end up passing my CRC exam, David, because my CRC exam was scheduled for 12:30 that day. Logistics behind estate planning, particularly living wills, health and financial, can be problematic and create far more emotional complications with others. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, please, please go follow David. Please. Right? This isn't a black thing. This isn't a white thing. This is a people thing. Right? And the reason that people like me and David had gotten into this business is because we have a passion for helping people. I don't care if you're blind, crippled, or crazy. You represent someone for me to help. So as we continue. So there are also two primary documents used in planning for the management of an individual's property in the event of legal incapacity or disability. One is the revocable living trust. This trust has many uses, as you'll learn later in this course, but one of its most prevalent is the appointment of a successor trustee to take over, excuse me, to take over the client's property management in the event the client is no longer able to do so. Two is the durable power of attorney for property. This document is similar to a durable power of attorney for healthcare, but it concerns the incapacitated person's property rather than personal care. The durable power of attorney may be either springing or non-springing. The springing power of attorney becomes effective only on the principal's legal incapacity, whereas the non-springing power of attorney becomes effective on the date of execution of the power. Once these estate planning basics are in order, we can move forward and get into focusing on the common objectives of estate planning. There's probably going to be a unit test here. Nope. Care, create liquidity, avoid probate costs, reduce taxes, and execute dispositive documents. So the common objectives of estate planning. There are four common estate planning objectives. The acronym CARE will help you to remember them. The CARE acronym stands for create liquidity, avoid probate costs, reduce taxes, and execute dispositive documents. Estate planning is often misperceived as involving only one or two of these objectives. The life insurance producer historically has concentrated on solving the liquidity problem, while lawyers generally have seen to it that the client has the appropriate estate planning documents. A truly comprehensive estate plan will address all four of the CARE objectives. And ladies and gentlemen, feel welcome to shoot questions if you have them. Which of these estate planning objectives is most important? Creating liquidity, avoiding probate costs, reducing taxes, or executing dispositive documents? Answer the following essay question. Upon entering a response in the question field, the submit button will appear. I'm going to say, well, this is kind of a, I'd say avoiding probate. We're going to say avoiding probate, right? And then let's click submit. It's going to be incorrect, but they are all equally important. Yeah, I was going to say that's a mixed question there. So create liquidity. The C in the CARE acronym stands for create liquidity. Liquidity means the ability to convert assets to cash without price concessions. So, for example, when you die and you own real estate, well, it's difficult for you to really liquidate that asset. Uh, Even though real estate is a great tool for generational wealth, the difficulty of it is um, you really don't know what the price will be when you pass, right? It might have been the worst neighborhood in the world when you bought it, and then 40 years later you die and it's the best neighborhood in the world, or vice versa. But if it becomes the best neighborhood in the world, yes, the value has appreciated, but now that house is $10 million. Well, there's going to be things like real estate taxes that if your family can't afford it, then that property is you're going to lose that property. Then there's things like liquidating the asset. If you have an immediate need for cash at the end of a person's death, maybe there's still a mortgage on the property. Well, now you have to sell the property because, the surviving people, the surviving family members couldn't afford the property. So now you have a liquidity issue because you need to sell the house really, really, really fast. Listen, we got to be up out of here in 3 months. Well, the houses generally, sometimes you'll see a house get on the market and they'll tell you, oh, it was only on the market for a week. That's a real estate trick. I used to be a real estate agent. What you'll do is you'll list it. It'll sit on the market for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years. And then you'll take it off the market or take it off the MLS. And then you'll put it back on because you had it as a pocket listing. So you'll see, oh, I was holding open houses and but I didn't have it listed on the MLS. So then you'll put it on the MLS and it will look like it was only listed for 7 days. So it looks like you're moving inventory really fast. You see, insurance agents can't do that. Financial professionals can't do that. So the C in the CARE acronym stands for create liquidity. Liquidity means the ability to convert assets into cash without price concessions. Because death results in many costs that must be paid within a short time following death, it is important that the estate has sufficient liquidity to cover these costs. If anyone ever did a study on the subject, he or she would probably find that the annual increase in the cost of dying has exceeded the annual increase in the cost of living. I'm going to Google that. Google cost of dying increase. So it says recent hikes to inflation have contributed to a 126% increase in funeral costs over the last 20 years, rendering the cost of death virtually impossible for the general working population. Wow. What is the average cost of dying in the US? So it says the average cost of dying in the US was about $7,028 based on a blended average cost of burials and cremations, calculated by the percentage of these end-of-life services performed across the country. Across all states, funerals cost an average of $8,500, while cremations costs $75.73. Not me, ladies and gentlemen. Google. This is Google. The cost of burial plots, cemetery monuments, funeral directors fee. Yeah, that's just the that 8,500 doesn't include things like burial plots, cemetery monuments, or funeral directors or attorneys' fees. That's just them digging a hole, maybe digging a hole in the ground, right? So that's probably what this is. The burial plot. It's not a headstone, right? Let's see the cost of a headstone. Cost of youth, cost of euthanasia, cost of a casket, right? Well, we've got someone. Well, there's $1,000, but these are the average casket costs a little more than $2,000. So if the funeral is $8,500, add the casket, that's 10,500. Then there's the cost of probate, which in California is 5%. Jeez. So David, I don't know if you saw, I did a little video yet the other day. We were talking about eyelets, AB trusts, and Q-tips. I actually just dropped a video about Q-tips. If a $1 million home is not in a trust, it'll be subject to 5% or 50,000 probate cost. Jeez. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just as simple as, ABC 1, 2, 3. So the cost of burial plots, cemetery monuments, funeral directors, uh, and attorneys' fees have gone up substantially in most parts of the country. If you do an estate analysis and see a lack of liquidity would be a problem if the client were to die today, you can rest assured that the problem will likely get worse as time passes. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is why when you tell us as financial professionals, hey, I want to think about it. Yes, we are salespeople. Yes, we do want to make a sale. Yes, we do make commission. But no, generally, that's not why we're pushing so hard. We're pushing so hard because your health can literally change from today to tomorrow. And then you can become uninsurable overnight. It says doing something costs something, doing nothing costs something, and quite often doing nothing costs a lot more. Ben Feldman, CLU. That makes a lot of sense. Doing something costs something. Doing nothing costs something. And quite often, doing nothing costs a lot more. Thank you so much, David, for being here. I'm actually glad you're here. Anybody who's watching live or in the replay gang, I get a lot of people who watch in the replay gang, David. And I haven't gone live in a while, which is why I don't have too many people in the box. But the people who are here are sincere. So, the need for estate liquidity arises because several types of expenses materialize at or soon after death. These expenses generally must be paid within 1 year of death, and some of them considerably earlier. Common objectives of estate planning: creating liquidity continued. So, administration expenses are the cost of opening, administering, and closing the decedent's estate. Executor's fees and fees for the executor's attorney will comprise the majority of such expenses. Other expenses may include court costs, the cost of appraising estate property, the cost of insuring estate property while the estate is open, maintenance or repair of estate property, particularly if it is to be sold, the expenses of defending a will contested by disgruntled heirs, auctioneer's fees, and the cost of ancillary administration if the decedent owned real property located in another state. The actual expenses will vary with each individual state, of course, but IRS statistics reveal that administration expenses average 4 to 5% of the typical estate. Indebtedness of the decedent comprises another important category. Mortgages usually are the most significant indebtedness in an estate. While the mortgage balance may not be accelerated by the decedent's death, many families will want to retire the mortgage at the death of the first spouse, so the surviving spouse and children are not burdened with this ongoing obligation. So again, now that we're talking about mortgages in a house, ladies and gentlemen, this is why I always say life insurance is the foundation of your financial house. You keep listening to these guys, buy options, buy stocks, invest in QQQ, invest in crypto. Cool. You can do all that. But after you lay your foundation. For example, if I came to you, you came to me, you say, hey, Alonzo, I want to buy a house. I know you build houses. Come build me a house. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, I got it. Let's start with your roof material. You'd be like, well, okay, cool. Yeah, I want this for my roof. All right, cool. I'll start building the roof tomorrow. What, Alonzo? What's the house gonna sit on top of? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We'll get that later. Don't worry about that. Concrete is a scam. Just all you need is a straw for your foundation, your house, because it's cheaper. Buy straw and invest in a good roof, because you want to make sure that when it rains on your roof, your house is still standing. Well, that would make sense, but if I buy straw, um, straw's not gonna hold up when it rains or snows, and the foundation won't, so my house will sink. And if you start with the roof, my house has nothing to sit on. Life insurance is your financial foundation, ladies and gentlemen. Other typical debts of the decedent include automobile loan balances, margin account indebtedness, credit card accounts, and other installment credit, and final expenses of the decedent's last illness. Accrued taxes may also be considered debts of the decedent. Yet, like, for example, my aunt, she died in the hospital. So right now we're just talking about her funeral, but the hospital is going to be like, hey, somebody got to pay for her being in this bed. It's $11,000 a day while you're in this bed. We left her in this bed dead for 2 more days so the family could come see her. So that's another $22,000 that you guys owe the hospital. Oh yeah, we know she's dead, but one of y'all kids got to pay this. This would include accrued but unpaid income taxes, which is why you have to pay death taxes, federal, state, and local, property taxes, and any other taxes that the decedent had incurred but not paid. Create liquidity continued. Creditors of the decedent have a limited period of time, 60 days in some states, in which to file claims against the estate. The executor then has a period of time, usually the first 6 months after the decedent's death, in which to ascertain the validity of these claims and settle or pay them. So again, when people are telling you to invest and you are investing in whatever stock you're investing in, you can't bequeath those shares unless they're in a trust. So that means that they have to be liquidated or sold. Well, when you bought, again, let's use Coke Bottling Company. You bought Coke Bottling Company and it was at 858 20 years ago. 20 years later, you died. Or let's use my aunt since she's dead now. 20 years ago, she bought Coke Bottling Company at $858 a share. 20 years later, she died 2 days ago. Right? Like I said, and these aren't fake texts. I'll show you my text again. I'm an open book here, ladies and gentlemen. You see that? That's from me and my brother, Aunt Harris, right? We were looking at BMWs because he likes BMWs. I was looking at the Mercedes because I like Mercedes. This is a Brabus G-Wagon I was looking at. That's $250,000. I have not reached MDRT yet, so I can't afford a Brabus G-Wagon. He liked the Dodge Viper. Well, I like the Dodge Viper. I do like the 6 Series coupe, but I don't like those rims. They're like drug dealer rims. I like stock rims on my car. And I'm a big fan of E-classes. This was actually a good price because this was an E63, and I will eventually get a double-digit Benz. But as I go and I scroll through, right, we're sitting there looking at BMWs, and then the next day, boom, Aunt B died. And you see me, oh no. Then he hit me up because he needed to talk. He needed a shoulder to cry on. Right? But so now Aunt B died. And she invested in Coke Bottling Company 20 years ago. Well, now that she died 2 days ago, let's say Coke Bottling Company is at the price of Coke, which is $89, right? Because Coke Bottling Company, the ticker price is COKE. Coca-Cola, the ticker symbol is KO. But now that it's at $89, they got to sell all her shares at $89. And then that money comes after we pay the stockbroker and the fees to the executive of the state, because the executive of the state has to go and say, hey, I have power of attorney over this. I need you to sell these stocks at whatever price today, because I got to get this money because we got to pay off all this debt. Like the 22,000 additional dollars for leaving her dead body in the hospital so somebody could come see her. Sounds morbid. It sounds like we're pressuring you as insurance agents, and we are. But you know what's even more pressure? Doing something costs something, doing nothing costs something, and quite often, doing nothing costs quite a bit more. Right? So, Rael, this is my man David Kinder. This is the guy I'm always talking about. You see the letters behind his name: RFC, CHFC, and that big dog that I'm going for, the CLU. And Rod, you can actually blame David for me having such an additional passion. Right? We met, we had differences on certain products. I am still in favor of the IUL for most concepts. A lot of people prefer traditional whole life. I understand now that I'm growing, I understand both sides. And then as a financial professional, you do pick your favorites. I prefer the flexibility of premium over the guarantees, but I work with a certain clientele base that will generally have that risk tolerance to prefer the flexibility over the guarantees. Especially when I'm working with a lot of brothers from the Black manosphere who are single and childless. They want that flexibility. They don't particularly need the guarantee. You have to know your client base. But so here we go. So funeral expenses. Yeah, definitely. Funeral expenses and related costs are another major cause of estate shrinkage. Such expenses include not only fees paid to funeral homes, but also burial expenses, if separate. Expenses of a tombstone, monument, or mausoleum, the cost of a burial plot, the cost of the transportation of the body, florist fees, and prepaid expenses for future care of the burial site. Federal and state death taxes are yet another cause of estate shrinkage, especially in large, poorly planned estates. The federal estate tax is a progressive tax levied on the value of just about everything a decedent owns or has control over when he or she dies. If an estate is subject to this tax, the tax generally has to be paid within 9 months after the date of death. Obviously, this can create major liquidity problems. So, guys, I want you to think about artists like DMX. DMX's estate is worth negative $1 million. I'm talking dog. I got a chain. I bought a Ferrari. I didn't buy any life insurance. Think Chadwick Boseman. Is this your king? He died intestate. So his mom got $1.1 million. His wife got $1.1 million. And the state got $1.5 million because he didn't sit down with his financial planning team. Or likely what often happens, like one of my clients' accountants, who also happens to be 50 Cent's accountant, I'll show you his name, Bruce Secondor, because he's a certified public accountant. right? Let's go to his website. Let's see here. See, Bruce Seckendorf has been a manager to the stars for decades. Now, I'm not going to tell you the name of one of my clients, but one of my clients who this guy, Bruce Seckendorf, is the accountant for. Again, he's also 50 Cent's accountant. I'd tell y'all if 50 Cent was my client because I got shot half as many times as him. But when I showed him and my client a 162 executive bonus plan using life insurance, you know what nah, you don't even have, well, you don't need life insurance. Take that and bring it to my money guy. Invest that money. Well, you also have my client with a $140,000 tax liability. So you'll often get certified public accountants and attorneys who don't know a damn thing about insurance. And because of that, they stay far away from it. All right. And that's generally how that one will work. So, give me 1 second here. I'm actually going to send a text to my team and see if they can help on. I'm live on YouTube right now. Education. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Live doing CD. Uh, on Sunday, it's football. Currently in a webinar. All right. Yes, the state will get that cut if you don't plan properly for sure. Exactly. So, let's see, where was I? And this can create major liquidity problems. So, federal estate taxes have gone through quite a bit of change in the past 20 years. The Economic Growth and Tax Relief Reconciliation Act phased out of the federal estate tax and completely repealed for 1 year. Let's see what we got going on here. I thought we were supposed to. I thought we're on Wednesday night. All right. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, a manager's work is never done. But this is actually beautiful that I'm growing. So the estate tax returned the next year, and the estate tax exemption was 5 million, indexed annually for inflation, with a top tax rate of 35%. Then the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act moved the estate tax exemption amount to 11.4 million, indexed annually. Importantly, this act also made portability permanent. This allows individuals to move unused exemptions amounts to spouses. So you got attorney fees, executive fees, and court costs. So, common objectives of estate planning. As you see, the estate and gift tax exemption amounts change every year, and they are the subject of legislative change quite often. Please consult the CFFP PDF for current estate and generation skipping tax exclusion amounts. Let me see if I can show you that in my downloads. Locate file. Go to my Google Drive here. and I'll show you all that. Again, I'm really not studying too heavy. I want to make sure that you guys kind of get a grasp of this. If this was literally just me studying, I'd have no problem going breezing through this. Here's my SIE book. So anyone on my team who's watching right now, once you guys get up and rolling, I will get you guys securities licensed. David, don't boo-hoo the securities license. I know, I know. Let me tell you guys, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of the elite financial professionals that I work with, we don't bother with the securities licensor anymore because there's too much regulation. But so let's see. This is the College for Financial Planning, a Kaplan company, right? So these are the 2024 limits relating to financial planning, right? So elective deferrals to your 401k, 2300, your 401k, 403b, 457, your SARs and your SAPs. What about the simple? Okay, here's for the simple plan. Simple is 16,000. I think everyone should be experience being securities licensed at some point. Great compliance training ground to leave behind in the future. That's funny. That's why I said that, David. I was like, hey, don't boohoo the oh damn, they did move up. MFJ is only 143. So I can't get an IRA. Ugh. I can get a Roth IRA. No, I'm close to not being able to get a Roth IRA anymore. That's all right. I just do an SEP IRA. But my wife, well, she has a TSP. But yeah, so my whole team, I intend on, like I said, we're getting designations and we're getting securities licensed. Okay. I have these securities books and I've paid for them. Okay. So you guys would be very amazed if you see some of these things that I see and David sees in some of these elite groups that we belong to outside of YouTube, where people are asking, hey, can someone pay for leads for me? David, do you know I spend at least $500 per new agent on leads. I buy them like B leads, so they're $5 a lead. I buy them 100 leads each when they're a new agent with me. Now I've stopped because too many of my new agents did absolutely nothing with the leads, meaning they didn't even call them. So that's a waste of my money. But here is the progressive estate and gift tax rate schedule. So amount subject to tax over zero, but not over $10,000, 18% of such amount, right? Let's see. Over 10,000, but not over 20,000, 1,800 plus 20% of the excess over 10,000. Over 20,000, but not over 40,000, 3,800 plus 22% of the excess over 20,000. Over 40,000, but not over 60, 8,200 plus 24% of the excess. Over 60,000, but not over 80,000. 13,000 plus 26%. So as you can see, the more you make, the more they take. Right? Anything over $1 million, $345,800 plus 40% of the excess. Gosh, Joe Biden, thank you. Trump 24. You didn't hear me say that. Yes, you did. So I've been right leaning since 2001. When 9/11 occurred, I tried to join the Marines and my mother wouldn't let me because I was 17. I'm almost glad she didn't, because I probably wouldn't have met my wife or gotten into this field. But I'm also sad she didn't, because I am a real American, fight for the rights of every man. Hulk Hogan, baby. State death taxes vary widely. In the states that are valued at less than the federal estate tax exemption amount, which is what is that 2.8 million? State taxes could be more of a problem than the federal estate tax. Uh, State death taxes will persist, or is it 3.5 million? will persist as a source of estate depletion no matter what happens to the federal estate tax. He says, I can't believe you went to Hulk Hogan. All of the estate shrinkage factors we have discussed so far are easily quantified, but there is a final category of indirect or hidden sources of estate shrinkage that must be mentioned. For example, sometimes the estate assets must be auctioned off or otherwise disposed of at sacrifice prices. When the seller, the executor, is in a forced sale situation, he or she simply doesn't have the bargaining power to avoid price concessions. Many art, antique, what did I say, real estate, and other dealers specialize in estate sales because of the bargains that can be obtained. Some of these indirect estate expenses, the difference between an asset's real value and what it can be sold for under adverse conditions, are called liquidation costs. Why? Because you have to sell these things off fast. An illiquid estate may have to borrow in order to provide living allowances for the surviving spouse, children, and to pay estate obligations. The interest costs of the borrowing can legitimately be considered a cause of estate shrinkage. And of course, the principal itself must eventually be repaid, which still leaves the estate in a potential fire sale situation. Yeah, there you go. Dave put it up there right before I read it. It's considered a fire sale. So business assets and other valuable assets are sold in order to raise the funds to pay the estate tax. Now, David, question. Do you think that's another reason that GoFundMe is so popular nowadays outside of just the funeral? Do you think some people create a GoFundMe to yeah, it can destroy business entities and jobs, right? That's why you have things like buy-sell agreements, which is part of the estate plan. Because if I die, my daughter don't want to be a barber. She doesn't want to take over the haircutting business. She don't want to do hair. But come hella high water, my daughter's gonna be a beauty esthetician. She don't want to cut hair, bro. So now when you die, your wife don't want to have nothing to do with the haircutting business either. Do you leave it to the manager? Well, the manager has no ownership. That might be your best friend, but he has no ownership on paper. So he's gonna go get a job. So sometimes the value of he says no, GoFundMe is for lower income. People with larger estates don't post things on GoFundMe. It's just not a position of strength to try to raise the money when the business owner is passed. That makes sense. Okay. So sometimes the value of estate assets might rise or fall dramatically due to the owner's death. Thus, the death of an artist, author, or musician often increases the value of his or her artwork or copyright. Let's use the rapper Nipsey Hussle, right? Nobody really knew who Nipsey Hussle was before he got killed. He was on the come up, but nobody quite knew who he was. They knew him more for being involved with Lauren London than they knew him for his music. Now, when he died, everybody, oh, Nipsey Hussle, I'm a Nipsey Hussle fan. I didn't know nothing about Nipsey Hussle until he died. I mean, I knew about him, but he wasn't on my radar until he died, just like a whole bunch of folks, right? So his stuff became, or Kurt Cobain, when he died, everything went up in value because he's not around to make anything more. So now it's rarer, right? So this can create an unexpected estate tax problem. On the other hand, the death of a business owner often has the opposite effect. Assets that were productively employed in a business may shrink in value without the owner's entrepreneurship and drive backing them. This was in the 30s, presented a 30,000 premium because of the problem. Wow, I'm gonna check that out. I got to check out a lot of Ben Feldman stuff. Where was I? So inventory and accounts receivable are particularly prone to shrinkage after the owner's death. There are two general ways to solve the liquidity crunch that can occur at death: minimize the need for cash at the time of death and create additional liquidity at death, usually with life insurance. Usually, these two should be used in combination. The first of these solutions can be accomplished primarily by avoiding probate costs and reducing taxes, the A and the R in our CARE acronym. And there's a fixed test. So, select the true statement. The federal estate tax is regressive. Larger estates pay a smaller rate. The federal estate tax is progressive. Larger estates pay a higher rate. All estates pay federal estate tax at the same rate. All estates over a specific size pay a fixed dollar amount. Let's say D. I know it's wrong, but let's say D. The answer is B, ladies and gentlemen. The federal estate tax is progressive. Now, we read that because, like I showed you, anything over 10,000, 0 to 10,000 is a certain one. Yes, the answer is B, David. I know I clicked the wrong answer intentionally. But um, let's retry. So again, the federal estate tax, and now they changed it, right? So they moved it around because remember, initially I answered it wrong. So is the true statement of federal estate tax is progressive, larger states pay a higher rate. The federal estate tax is regressive, larger estates pay a smaller rate, states over a specific amount, or all estates. So the answer here, ladies and gentlemen, is A. There you go. So I know what I'm talking about, but I did answer the question incorrectly intentionally. So the common objectives of estate planning. So avoid probate costs. The A in the CARE acronym stands for avoid probate costs. Several years ago, a man named Norman Dacey created quite a stir with his book, How to Avoid Probate, because probate expenses tend to vary directly with the size of the probate estate, the assets passing under the decedent's will. Actions that will reduce the size of the probate estate also reduce probate costs. Probate avoidance has become a routine part of estate planning. One of the major goals, wow, my phone is not about to die, so I'm about to have to stop this, y'all. Um, well, I'll try and finish. Uh, yeah, we got a few more pages to go, so let's see how far I can go. Um, So one of the major goals of estate planning is to avoid probate. However, probate does have the ability to perform some very important functions. Probate is capable of enabling titles of property to be transferred from the decedent to the rightful beneficiaries, providing the validity of a will and verifying orderly distribution of assets to the heirs. Thank you, David. Actually, I'm gonna also steer my team to come see some information from you. Um, I think one of the guys that I had added to our groups, he's not yet licensed, but he's new on my team. Um, and I'll be adding a few more shortly. Let's see if I can. I just plugged in my cell phone, so but I also need to plug in my laptop. So common objectives of estate planning. Avoid of the advantage of probate is that it protects creditors by ensuring debts of the estate are paid. It also has the ability to validate the will if one exists. Once an asset goes through probate, it will have a clean. My wife just made some pizza. I'm about to end and go eat pizza. It will have a clean title for the heir. I smell the pizza. Probate gives all concerned parties the ability to be heard and provides an orderly administration of the decedent's assets. The reason why the majority of estate planning specialists recommend avoiding probate is because there are some major disadvantages. Probate can be extremely costly and complex. Real property located in a state outside of the decedent's state of domicile may trigger a separate probate. The costs typically are calculated as a percentage of the assets in the probate estate. The probate process is generally slow and can be filled with delays in transferring assets to the heirs. It is also open to the public, so there is a lack of privacy. So, prime example, um, I guess Lisa Marie Presley died without probate because um she there's an article that was explaining that she had 35 million, which was possibly 45 million of life insurance, but she let one $10 million policy lapse. And she, prior to her death, was in the process of liquidating one of her $10 million cash value life insurance policies to, and Aretha Franklin died with no will. But she was in the process of liquidating one of her cash value life insurance policies to pay, I believe, it was 4 million in debt to the IRS and 2 million in personal debt. The general idea, however, is to pass property by some means other than the will, usually by some form of contract, TOD or transfer on death, POD, pay on death, a life insurance or annuity contract, or a retirement plan, or by operation of law, joint tenants with rights of survivorship, joint tenants by entirety or trusts. For example, life insurance death proceeds paid to a designated beneficiary other than the insured's estate will avoid probate. So R, reduce taxes. I think what I'll do is I'll finish this up, and then I'll go ahead and go eat, and I'll probably finish this up tonight, and then I'll come back to y'all tomorrow, trained up. So the R in the CARE acronym stands for reduce taxes. To the extent we can reduce the tax bite at death, we don't need extra liquidity for tax payments, and we can conserve estate assets for the decedent's heirs. Tax considerations should not drive everything else. The estate owner should not engage in esoteric estate planning techniques that may save taxes, but that are inconsistent with his or her fundamental testamentary objectives. So there may be a tendency among some estate planners to consider and plan only for federal estate tax consequences. However, the total tax situation should be taken into account. The federal income, gift and estate taxes, and any applicable state income, gift, and death taxes. For example, by irrevocably giving property away during life, one can generally escape the estate taxation of that property at death. However, the recipient loses an income tax benefit that comes from the step up in the tax basis that results if appreciated property is held until death. Thus, in situations where the recipient is likely to sell the property and the property is highly appreciated, it may make sense to hold on to the property until death in order to give the eventual recipient a basis step up equal to the fair market value at death or the alternate valuation date. The income tax savings resulting from the higher basis may more than offset any estate tax consequences. It's important to know that valid beneficiary designations bypass probate because those assets pass by contract. Important to keep them up to date on insurance, retirement, and other benefits. David, let me tell you, I had a guy who he had, what did he have? He had I know he had a 401k. He had a 457, right? And in his 457, his ex-wife was the beneficiary, but he was still working. Thank God he retired and we rolled it out. So obviously she didn't have anything to do with it. Um, but I was like, we need your ex-wife's signature. Is that going to be a problem? He's like, no, we're amicable. So luckily that wasn't a problem, but we did need to get her signature. So now we're on the E, right? And this is execute dispositive documents. The E in the CARE stands for execute dispositive documents or dispositive, however you tomato. He says, oh yeah, it was going to be a real mess. But thankfully he listened to me. He's actually online here with me on YouTube. He actually doesn't mind that I mentioned some of this stuff, but I won't say his name now only because of the ex-wife. But Rael, you know who it is. Transactions and techniques relevant to the estate planning area are generally more formal than is usual in the normal course of personal and business affairs. Somebody once referred to this as the Goldilocks rule. Things have been done just right. If proper formalities are not observed, a well conceived estate plan may fail in the implementation phase. Yeah, and Dave, it was $750,000, so it would have been a big kerfuffle. How to properly pass how property passes at death. By will, probate, transferred through decedent's will and passes through probate. By law, intestacy, probate, transfers property without a will, transfers property not included in the will. By contracts, avoids probate with a beneficiary. Life insurance contracts, retirement plans, annuities. Payable on death, POD, and transfer on death, TOD. Real estate deeds. By operation of law, avoids probate. Joint tenants with right of survivorship, tenants by the entirety or trusts. By gifts, avoids probate. Lifetime gifts and the annual gift tax exclusion. Common objectives, I'm sorry, wills, of course, are the leading example. While some states will honor holographic wills written by the testator's own hand, and even non-cupative or oral wills, it is always a good idea to produce a printed will and to execute it in accordance with state law requirements. Homemade wills may be valid, but there are also many pitfalls that can invalidate them. For example, two or three witnesses are usually required to observe the will signing and then to sign their own names to the will. Deeds for conveyance of real property are also subject to legal formalities and normally must be recorded in the office of a designated local official. Failure to execute a deed property or to record it can lead to clouded titles that will be discovered by later title searches. This result may be an inability to pass a clean title to the heirs. Jointly owned property is another sticky area where one must use proper language to indicate one's intentions. For example, in some states, a tenancy by entirety, a form of joint ownership between spouses, is created by transferring the title to John and Jane Doe, husband and wife. If husband and wife were omitted, state law would create a different presumption, either that there was a tenancy in common or a joint tenancy with rights of ownership. Usually, however, the survivorship right must be affirmatively stated on the deed or other instrument, or a tenancy in common will result. The agreements require somewhat less formality than other estate planning documents, but they must still comply with certain formal requirements. The chief virtues of a trust as dispositive devices are possible professional management of assets by the trustee, potential income tax and estate tax savings if the trust is irrevocable, control over the disposition of trust income and principal through the trust terms or discretion vested in the trustee, and the flexibility possible in trust design, so that virtually any plan of disposition can be accommodated. Example: Alberto and Donna are concerned about whether their children will be sufficiently mature to manage an inheritance wisely. The most important thing in the world to their 17-year-old son Marcus is a red sports car that he's been pricing but can't really afford at this stage in his life. By keeping the inheritance in a trust rather than leaving it outright to Marcus, Alberto and Donna can reach out from the grave and control how the inheritance is used. One type of trust Alberto and Donna may consider for Marcus is the Section 2503B, or Mandatory Income Trust. The Section 2503B trust must distribute income annually to the beneficiary, but does not require the distribution of the principal, corpus, when the beneficiary attains age 21. Lifetime gifts should also be looked upon as a dispositive device. Gifts are a way of disposing of one's estate before death. Although gifts may be made for immediate or testamentary motives, gifts are potentially subject to the federal gift tax and to state gift taxes in the handful of states that have such taxes. Gift tax avoidance or minimization is a key part of lifetime gift planning. Gifts may be made in a variety of ways: outright transfer, transfer of trust, transfer in trust, or transfer into joint names, etc. So that's it. Now I have my unit test. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, we're going over the estate planning team. So now that you know generally that estate planning is a process that nearly everyone must be involved in at one time or another, let's talk about those who take part in the process in the estate planning team. So the estate planning team consists of the client, the life insurance producer, the attorney, the trust officer, and the accountant. The sixth member, which is the investment advisor, may also be present. Now, oftentimes, the insurance producer and the investment advisor are one and the same, but sometimes they're also separate. So the client. The client is the most important member of the team and defines what the team is attempting to accomplish. It is also important to remember that the client is the ultimate decision maker with respect to the use of specific team members, planning techniques, and strategies. And don't forget who hires and fires the other members of the team. So again, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, yes, the insurance agent who you sit with will push you. Listen, you ain't got time to think about this. You got to do this stuff now, because while you're thinking about it, stuff is moving. But you ultimately drive the ship. So you are the person who decides what goes on. Next is the life producer. The licensed life insurance producer is in a prime position to initiate the estate planning process. In most cases, it will be you who stirs the prospect to action. And it is this action which can lead to sizable amounts of life insurance to help solve estate problems uncovered by you and the other members of the estate planning team. Moreover, the other professionals most likely are not as knowledgeable as you are about life insurance. Without your advice, the team is incomplete and the plan cannot be whole. And without your product, many estate plans can never be properly executed. So, your role, that of a salesperson, an expert on life insurance products, is of tremendous importance. And it is a role accepted more and more each day as one of the most indispensable, as one that is indispensable in the estate planning process. Next, meet the attorney. The attorney is an essential member of the team because the attorney is responsible for drafting any legal documents that form the framework of the estate plan, including wills and trusts. Therefore, it is simply impossible to be involved in estate planning without working with attorneys. Your relationship with this colleague will in large part determine the success of the overall plan and your role within it. Excuse me. The fourth member of the team is the trust officer. The trust officer advises the practicality of the estate plan, as well as often playing a major role in the estate administration process. The trust officer can be a major ally, and cultivating trust officers, both as clients and as centers of influence, can prove to be extremely lucrative to you. In performing their duties to conserve and manage estate assets, trust officers are often in a position to suggest the use of life insurance as a major estate conservation tool. The accountant is the fifth member of the team with whom you will likely have regular dealings. The accountant, often a CPA, is the advisor who is most closely acquainted with the prospect's financial affairs. Additionally, it is the accountant's responsibility to advise on asset valuation, a task that can be a real headache, especially in the case of a business owner or farmer. The accountant's knowledge of tax law is of great value to you as you seek to help solve the problems that may arise in many estates. In some very large estates, you will encounter another team member, the investment advisor. Usually, this person will want to take part to assure that the prospect's investment desires are safeguarded and not overlooked by the other advisors. This member of the team may be able to bring a wealth of knowledge to the estate planning team with regard to portfolio management strategies such as income growth, growth in income, and capital preservation. This member of the team may also have access to alternative investments such as hedge funds, which may be appropriate for certain larger estates as well. And Rael, that's one of the things that made you start listening to me when I first came into the manosphere or the black manosphere was so I was talking about hedge funds. All right, so this is for me to take the fixed test. So I'm going to stop at this unit. Let me take the test here. Which member of the estate planning team drafts all the legal documents? The life producer. No, we know that's A, B, C, or D, ladies and gentlemen. Is it the accountant, the investment advisor, the life producer, or the attorney? It's D, the attorney. Which of the following is the most important member of a estate planning team? The accountant, the client, the life producer, or the attorney? Well, we know that it's B, the client. And submit. Okay, close window. All right. So we're going to move on here. So, unauthorized practice of law. You are not, in all probability, a trust officer, an accountant, or an attorney. As a life insurance producer, you are not permitted or certified to render specific tax or legal advice or to draft legal documents. To draft legal instruments. These are the responsibilities of your colleagues, your fellow team members on the client's estate planning team, and these responsibilities should be left to their expertise, which is why it gets really frustrating when those people in their expertise have the nerve to say, oh, you don't need life insurance. Why? Because you don't have it? Because you think it's better to get a cheap policy? I always tell people when you say buy term and invest the rest, you're telling people, especially because the most commonly sold policy is a 20-year term. You're telling your client, hey, listen, I guarantee your investments will outpace everything in 20 years. And if they don't, you're telling your family your financial plan is to die in 19 years. So here are some basic rules to help you avoid the unauthorized practice of law. Tell your client upfront that all legal issues need to be addressed by a competent attorney and that an attorney should be involved in the whole estate planning process. Do not prepare legal documents, even if they are used for illustration purposes. 3, do not make suggestions regarding legal documents because even if your suggestions are not adopted, later you might still be found guilty of having practiced law without a license. One very prominent person I know became an attorney because of attorneys torpedoing his insurance sales. Yeah, like I said, accountants and attorneys torpedo insurance sales all the time because they know absolutely nothing about it. Just like I know absolutely nothing about law. I'm not going to tell you, don't go get an attorney. You can represent yourself. Just get a pro se. Because a pro se is a document that says you can represent yourself in court. In fact, before I go there, let's see. What is a, oh, wow. What is the ticker symbol for Coca-Cola? No, we win. What is a pro se litigant? Parties who choose to represent themselves are referred to as pro se parties or pro se litigants, or more specifically, pro se plaintiffs or pro se defendants. So that is like me telling someone, don't go get an attorney because you have a legal problem. Just go do a pro se. It's cheaper. Well, yeah, it's substantially cheaper than going to get an attorney, but it's going to be substantially more expensive because you don't know how to practice law, so you're probably not going to win your case. However, you are knowledgeable about life insurance, and as such, are expected to know about your product, its uses, its applications to specific situations, and its effect on a client's overall estate picture. To be knowledgeable, you must study continuously. Congratulations, you've completed the first step in that ongoing process. I think I did this already. I'm not going to get credit for this crap. Such as life. But so, ladies and gentlemen, this is why it's very important that you want to find out kind of if you're looking for certain concepts, how long your agent's been in the business, because a guy who's been in the business for 4 years is probably only going through his second renewal, and he hasn't encountered this because he's probably going for the easiest thing to complete his hours of continuing education. But as you continue to study, what happens is the courses get offered to you again, but if you take that course again, you don't get credit for it. So they make you learn more. So things like you'll hear people, infinite banking. What do you really know about infinite banking? Again, I like infinite banking using an IUL. I know a lot of reps who like infinite banking using traditional whole life. Guess what? They're both right. But it depends on the client, because the client is the most important party in that situation. So, like you saw, guys, I had a video the other day talking about and reviewing Primerica. And I said I have a love-hate relationship with Primerica because at the end of the day, they're teaching people that they need life insurance. But term insurance is not a one-size-fits. You don't need whole life. Those whole life guys are scamming you. You don't need an attorney. Those attorneys are scamming you. You can just do a pro se. Right? What is a pro se? Let's see, how much does a pro se cost? There is no price. Well, I used to work at a company called National Debt Relief. I'm sure you've all heard of that. I was with them when they had their first $50 million month. They're on 11 Broadway in Manhattan. And they used to send pro ses to their debt relief clients, and they charged them $200 for a document on a letterhead of an attorney's office that said Alonzo Hall is going to represent himself in court against Chase Bank. Alonzo Hall don't know jiggity jack about the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act, right? What is the FDCPA? I happen to know what the FDCPA is, but what is the purpose? Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, right? Then what is it? The IAPDA? IAPDA. Oh, most of the time, again, the only reason I know what the IAPDA is because I worked for National Debt Relief. Right? I don't want to go to their website. International Association of Professional Debt Attorneys. Right? So sometimes if you get called from a third party, that National Debt Relief would tell you, hey, listen, are you guys being compliant with the FDCPA? If they call you 3 times in a day, report it to us. We'll report them to the IAPDA and you'll get $1,000. If they call you at a certain time, this, that, and the third. But that's legal advice. I'm not giving you this advice. I'm telling you what National Debt Relief says. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be, oh, this is the unit test. Yeah. So that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, excuse me, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. With that being said, wipe ass. The chief virtues of trust as a dispositive device include all of the following except let's say we're going to go D, even though that's wrong. I told you it was C, eliminates the need for a will. So we're going to go next. The A in CARE stands for assess the will, abatement of fees, analyze insurance policies, or A, avoid probate costs. Let's go to that previous and do the right answer because I know it. Okay, which of the following can enable estate assets to avoid probate? Last will and testament, tenancy in common, dying without a will, or life insurance proceeds designated paid to a designated beneficiary. Let's go D. Oh, it was right. Okay, but anyway, I got a limited time on this, huh? Which of the following will contribute to the liquidating problem of an estate? Funeral administration debts, death taxes, all of the above. The E in care means execute, dispose of documents. Which of the following is a member of the estate planning team? Minister, next of kin, attorney, or physician? All of the following are members of the estate planning team except your investment banker. The R in CARE acronym is common for common estate planning objectives, stands for revoke the trust, reduce taxes, replace the will, or redo the will. A, B, C, or D, ladies and gents. The answer is B. And question 10, the C in CARE stands for create liquidity, cash and insurance policies, create lockout, clean out lockbox, or codicil preparation. If you are familiar with notary, which I'm getting my notary license, K Business Podcast, if you're here, I need to holler at you. I need to send you a document. I might even ask you, David. I need somebody to speak to my character for my notary license. I'll send you the DocuSign document if necessary. But the answer is A, create liquidity. Submit. I got a 90. Oh, I got 100. Okay. So that's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit that like, drop a comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you're made aware every time I release new content. And as always, share, share, share. Lastly, to contribute to channel growth or to schedule an appointment with a licensed financial professional, the links are in the description of this video. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. Wipe ass. Work in progress every day and see success. And remember, folks, when people challenge you, they don't challenge you to challenge you, but they challenge you to challenge you. Accept the challenge. Salute.